I'm gonna put half a cup of glucose. What is glucose? It's another form of sugar. This is the mixture of these two sugars, the powder and the glucose. It's what makes the fondant. So this is what the glucose is for. And I'm gonna also add a teaspoon of glycerin. And about the glycerin is for the moisture. It makes the cake shiny. If you live in a city that has too much humidity, you can take about a quarter of the glycerin out until you find the right point for you. But for me, I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon. And I also have here shortening. Shortening is also for shine, but what helps the most is with the drying. It helps that your fondant doesn't dry so fast and you don't get that elephant skin that fondant gets. But if you put too much, it never holds a good shape. You need your fondant to hold the shape of a nice ball when it's done. If it's too runny, you need more sugar, you're putting too much of the other ingredients. And if it's too hard to work with, and then who wants to work so hard? So now that I have my gelatin bloomed, which you see there's no water, just the gelatin hard. And now we're gonna pop it in the microwave in 30-second bursts until we have liquid gelatin. Now that I have my gelatin completely liquid, I'm gonna add it to my mixture over here. And if you're gonna add any flavor, I'm going to add half a spoon of clear vanilla. But it has to be clear vanilla. If you use the vanilla with the specks, you're gonna see the specks on the fondant. And if you use vanilla that has that tan color, you're gonna color your fondant. So you need to find the clear vanilla. The flavor is not the most gourmet, but it's the one for fondant. And if you're gonna use almond, be very careful with the almond. The almond is very potent. So you wanna use just a quarter of a spoon, and then you can play with any other flavor that you like. But remember, if it has color, your fondant is gonna have color. So I'm gonna come here. My mixture is warm because the gelatin is warm. Mix it a little bit. Don't need to mix it a lot. I'm gonna open well in the middle of the sugar. And I'm gonna add my mixture to the center. And now we're slowly gonna start incorporating the sugar to the mixture. If you go too fast, you're gonna have very large clumps of sugar. They're hard to get rid of. You want to make a very smooth fondant that looks beautiful on your cake. Keep working on the bowl because this is really runny and really sticky now. So what I have in my bowl, it's about 1.5 pounds of sugar from the 2 pounds we're using. And sometimes you don't need the 2 pounds. Just try to make the mixture inside the bowl the most compact as possible. And when you feel that it's not gonna be too sticky in your table anymore, start first by adding a bit of sugar so your fondant doesn't end up sticking to the table. And then bring the fondant out. So with very clean hands, we're gonna start bringing the rest of the sugar into the mixture by hand, by kneading our fondant to the table, like this. The right way to knead is always pushing the fondant away from you. And try not to stick your fingers like this, because when you fold, there's where you create those air bubbles that you are trying to avoid and that show on the cake. So always knead by pushing away from you, like this. When you feel that you have no more sugar, but the fondant still sticks to the table, You bring a little bit more sugar, a little bit at a time, okay? Because you don't want to make it too hard. And that way you'll find that you don't really use the whole 2 pounds. How do I know when I have enough sugar in my fondant? When I make a ball and the ball stays in place and not goes flat. This one still needs a little bit more sugar. So keep kneading until you have at least another cup of sugar incorporated to the fondant, and make the test. The test is hold your ball, and if it holds shape, you have fondant. You can use your fondant right away, but it's better to wait for a day or so the gelatin sets back to solid and it's easier to use, it's less sticky. If you find that your fondant is too sticky, it needs more sugar. You need to knead and knead until you get it right.